Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome along to Autodrom Moss. NASCAR Whelen Euro Series back on track this weekend at a circuit which became the permanent motor racing facility in Czechoslovakia, of course nowadays Czechia or the Czech Republic, when it opened in 1983. But racing in this part of the local area goes back way beyond that. The first motor racing came to the area when motorcycle races were organised around a brewery on the edge of the city in the 1940s, and various street circuits were arranged until in the 1970s it was perhaps decided that there needed to be maybe a construction of a more permanent facility. So construction of this circuit started in 1978, it was finished in 1983 and has played host to the likes of the European Le Mans Series and this weekend the European Truck Racing Championship, which is also here. So wonderful to be back in the Czech Republic, a venue which was sadly missed from the 2020 championship season because of COVID-19 pandemic. But we're delighted to be back here, albeit restricted on fan numbers, but we are going to see some great racing over the course of the weekend. The circuit itself is quite a tight and twisty one. I think we can have a quick look at the way that the circuit is arranged. More corners at this circuit than probably any of the others that we'll visit over the course of the 2021 championship season. And as you can see, rather blustery to say the least, and a little bit wet out there. So it's a 4.2 kilometre or just over 2.5 mile circuit. Really technical sections and flowing sections rounds through turns 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, and then fast out the back as well. So really looking forward to a great weekend of racing in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. As for the format of the weekend, then hopefully we can just bring up some graphics that show how the format works for the weekend as well. So we've already had the Friday taking place, so the Club Challenge is the regularity test, but there were 2 free practice sessions for both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2 yesterday, so the drivers have already had a best part of 60 minutes on track if everything went to plan. In what were mixed conditions for them yesterday, they've got 30 minutes each of qualifying this morning, and then come later on this afternoon, we will see a 75-kilometre race for EuroNASCAR Pro, slightly shorter for EuroNASCAR 2, and they will do it all again tomorrow, where they also have a 10-minute warm-up over the course of the morning. So that's the way that the weekend is arranged, and then I think what we can perhaps do is maybe just have a look at what's happened so far in the 2021 season, because we started our season at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, and then from there we went to Brands Hatch in the United Kingdom. So this is the 3rd race meeting of the season. It will be rounds 5 and round 6 that we will see coming up very shortly indeed. Well, the first race of the season took place at Circuit Ricardo Tormo, and it was a 2019 champion that went up alongside the 3 times champion Alan Day as they headed up towards Aspar, which was the first corner. The fight between Loris Hasemans and Alan Day would continue all the way throughout the race, and the two of them were absolutely either nose to tail or wheel to wheel. Eventually, though, there was a little bit of contact between the pair of them. Alan Day went through the gravel trap. Loris Hasemans would take up the lead of the race and would bring his car towards victory lane. So Loris Hasemans claimed not just one, but claimed a double win at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Spain to take up the early championship lead. He went to victory lane. Onto the UK and Brands Hatch next time round, where Alan Day and Loris Hasemans were at it again. The Italian driver Nicola Rocca slotting himself through into 3rd position. But around the tight and twisty but short Brands Hatch Indy circuit, it would be Alan Day that would go to victory lane. He is already top of the all-time winners list. He would claim his 25th career win. In the second race of the weekend, though, it was, well, very much as we were in race number 1. Loris Hasemans and Alan Day, as they had been all season, were fighting away for the lead of the race. But Alan Day was suffering with problems with his car, forced him a little bit wide at Paddock Hill Bend. Through the gravel trap he went, caused damage to the front of the car, but that was not to be the end of it, because the car was starting to spew out a little bit of oil, and a lap later, as he went up towards the same part of the corner, the car spun around. Thankfully, it was not collected, but it did mean that the reigning champion would be out of the race, and it would be Loris Hasemans who would come through to claim his 10th career win in EuroNASCAR Pro. So he will be leading the championship on 155 points coming into this weekend, and Gianmarco Ercoli would be second, with Nicola Rocca in 3rd, and the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion Vittorio Garelli in 4th. So that's what had happened so far in the 2021 championship season. We're looking back at some Spanish highlights again for some strange reason. In terms of the championship, yeah, Loris Hasemans is leading the championship, as I said, 155 points. Gianmarco Ercoli is second, but is the leading junior driver. Now, that's for drivers aged under 25 at the beginning of the season. Nicola Rocca in third, and the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion, Federico Garelli, is in fourth place. Sebastian Bleekie-Molen, the Dutchman, having a fantastic season, is in fifth, and Luca Lasser, another double former champion from 2009-2010, wraps up the top 10. In terms of the Challenger trophies, Davide De Lara is leading that, and the Challenger trophy is for amateur drivers, silver or bronze categorized drivers who race in EuroNASCAR Pro, the top flight of European NASCAR. So that gives you an indication as to what the championship points look like coming into this weekend. And I think one of the things that we can perhaps do on the run into the build-up to this qualifying session is we do have a Czech driver on the grid this weekend. So it is the home NASCAR Grand Prix for one of our drivers, and it is Martin Dubeck, who is, of course, racing at his home NASCAR Grand Prix. Not for the first time, because he raced in the championship when we first visited the Most Autodrom in 2019. So we managed to catch up with Martin Dubeck and gauge his thoughts earlier on this weekend.
For sure, it's really nice if we can race in Czech Republic, because I can invite my family and my friends, so that's important. And as me now, we will have only around some 7,000 people here because of the restrictions, but I think that they can do good atmosphere here. It's really difficult, the first corner, because the start-finish line is really long, and you have to brake there, and many times I missed the braking point and I had to go straight to the another corners, and second part, turn number 13, because you really need big balls for it, because you have to use full gas there if you want to be fast. We don't know which tires we have to use. The track is wet, and 10 minutes is dry also again. And if you want to use the rain tires, you have to keep in mind that maybe it can be dry in 10 minutes. So for a long race, what we have, I think we have 14 laps. It's difficult to know which tires you want. But for me, much better if it's a wet race.
So there we go, great to catch up with Martin Dubeck, and he was absolutely right saying, you know, we don't know what tyres we're going to be using. They are limited on tyres. They are allowed just 2 brand new slick tyres for the weekend. The other 2 that they want to bolt on the car have to be carried over either from Valencia or from the races at Brands Hatch. But you can see it's wet out there at the moment, but there's a drying line, which tends to suggest that the cars are heading out there for qualifying, that it's going to dry up, and therefore the last qualifying lap is probably going to be the most important one. So the car's heading out there into the qualifying session. The way that the grid will form up for the first race of the weekend is based on the times that they set in this qualifying session. The grid for the second race of the weekend is based on their fastest laps from the first race of the weekend. So in other words, the race that we have later on this afternoon for both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2. Important to get a good lap time in that race, because that will give you the grid position for tomorrow's races. Now, in terms of pole positions so far this year, Loris Hasemans, who leads the championship, has claimed 3 pole positions so far this season, either as a result of fastest lap in qualifying or fastest lap in the race. The other pole position has gone the way of Alon Day. So arguably, they are the 2 cars that we need to watch out for in this particular one. Loris Hasemans drives the Hendricks number 7. That is the number 88 Monster Energy-backed car, the Chevy, in the hands of the most winningest driver in the championship, which is Alon Day. And live onboards this weekend, I'm delighted to say, Mark Goosens is trying out one of our live onboard cameras on board the DF1 Racing number 77 Chevy, in the hands of the hugely experienced driver who's raced lots in IMSA racing over in America. He's raced in Le Mans in the past. His single-seater career brought him through the likes of Formula Ford, where he was the Formula Ford Festival winner back at Brands Hatch in 1991. Moved on to Formula 3 and Formula 3000, Mark Goosens. So hugely experienced driver, and is one to be reckoned with in EuroNASCAR Pro as well. Finished 5th in the championship standings last year, Mark Goosens. So it's a half-an-hour qualifying session. So I think the quicker times will probably come towards the end of it in reality, because as the circuit will dry, unless another rain cloud blows in, it will just get drier and drier and drier as they all circulate with the 4 wet tyres that they are allocated for this weekend. That is all they are allowed. So if the session stays wet, and particularly if it's one of those sessions and races maybe where the wet tyre is the tyre to fit, but the circuit dries towards the end and therefore you start to wear your wets out, then if they have to reuse those again in another race, then it could really be intriguing as to what this weekend looks like in terms of tyre choice and how drivers manage their tyres. It's always an intriguing aspect of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. So the cars have just done their out lap. They're now just heading on to their first flying lap in the combined free practice session yesterday, as I say, where we did have changeable conditions. It was the number 50 Hendrix Ford of the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion Vittorio Garelli who was top of the times, 1 minute 51.9. Most of the quick times came in the second session, which was drier. Giorgio Maggi, who has stepped up from EuroNASCAR 2 a couple of seasons ago to the top flight, he put his number 18 Hendrix Ford second quickest in free practice. And Fred Gabillon, 3 times a runner-up in the championship, allegedly going to retire at the end of this season. I hope not, Fred. He was third quickest, but the only driver that was into the 1 minute 51 second bracket was Vittorio Garelli. So fantastic backdrop of the mountains and the hills around this beautiful part of Czechia, or the Czech Republic. And with half an hour to go, there's no real rush to get the quick times in at this stage. You can perhaps just see what the circuit's like for the first couple of laps. There goes Francesco Cini, looking to try and press on, sharing the car again this weekend with Elina Leubnegger. Great to see Francesco back racing this weekend. 40 years of age now, the Italian, and finished 7th in EuroNASCAR Pro last year at the wheel of the Solaris Motorsport Chevy. But the first quick laps are just now starting to come in. Sebastian Bleekemolen, who's had a great season, pops in the quickest time. Here's Fred Gabillon, midway round through his lap currently. Say 3 times a runner-up in the series is Fred, runner-up in 2013, 2016 and 2018, the 45-year-old Frenchman nowadays. There's Luca Lasser, he's a double former champion as well. 2009, 2010, Luca claimed his championships. He's 42 years of age now, is Luca Lasser, and last year finished 3rd in EuroNASCAR Pro. Has found it a little bit more difficult over the course of this season, lies 6th in the championship standings coming into this weekend. Number 48 is Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian. Another driver in his 40s, was runner-up in the Legend Trophy back in 2020. That's for EuroNASCAR 2 drivers who are aged 40 and over. Yevgen is one of the drivers that races in both. But Sebastian Bleekemolen, as you can say, really the only driver to have popped in a quick lap as yet. Romain Iniesta returning to the championship, second quickest, and Andrea Nori third quickest currently. Nice to see Nori back with us as well. Former World Rally driver, racing the World Rally Championship, and did a big chunk of historic rallying as well, did Andrea Nori. Alan Day is 4th. Sebastian Bleekemolen at the moment has lit the field up, hasn't he? 2 seconds quicker than anybody else. There's Dario Carzo back for this weekend as well. We didn't see Dario out at Brands Hatch. He is, what, 59 years of age. I think he's the oldest driver that we've got competing in EuroNASCAR Pro currently. But he was 4th in the Challenger standings last year, as he was back in 2019. He was the runner-up in the Challenger standings back in 2018. And remember, that's for amateur drivers that enter the top flight of European NASCAR, i.e. EuroNASCAR Pro. So we've not really seen that many quick times coming in at the moment. Now, Sebastian Bleekemolen is a little bit slower through the first sector still, so this lap isn't going to improve from the 1:55.101 you can see at the bottom left of your screen. Francesco Cini heading into pit lane, so that's it for the Solaris Motorsport Chevy for the moment. As I say, I think the best bet for some of the drivers may well be just to bide their time, wait until the circuit improves a bit towards the end of the session, and then crack on. Here is at the moment, our provisional pole sitter. Bleekemolen so far this year has had 2 podiums, hadn't had a podium in EuroNASCAR Pro previously, but is going so well this season. Didn't see him racing the European NASCAR Series last year. He concentrated on racing Renault Clios in the European Series, which he's been hugely successful over the years. Finished 4th in that last year. He'll be a driver that is certainly going to be delighted if he can hang on to pole position, having posted that time very early on into this session, but still with 23 minutes remaining. The lap time's starting to improve a little bit. Giorgio Maggi could be one to watch this time through. First sector last time was really good for the reliveried number 18 car. There is Giorgio Maggi, new livery for him this weekend, very patriotically liveried in the hands of the Swiss driver, big Swiss flag on the bonnet of it. And he'll be wanting to try and see whether he can get his championship fully on track. Had his best result of the season last time out with a 4th place at Brands Hatch, but this car is still topping the times at the moment. The number 69 Ford in the hands of the Dutchman. Sebastian is another driver in his 40s. He's, what, 43 years of age nowadays. Multiple Clio Cup champion in both the Benelux countries and the European Series. Here's number 1, Michaela Dorsikova. Nice to see Michaela back. The Slovakian racer back with us again. Did a couple of EuroNASCAR races in 2019. Did both of the Hockenheim races, did Michaela. There's number 50. That is the car that was fastest yesterday. 46 is Romain Iniesta back to the championship and to the top of the times now, Romain Iniesta. So good lap time having been popped in by Romain on his return to the championship. Largely racing in the European GT4 Championship is Romain Iniesta with another former EuroNASCAR racer, Eric Clement, he's racing with. They're currently 6th in the championship standings. But Alan Day now goes to the top of the times, 0.6 of a second quicker than Romain Iniesta. So the number 88 Chevy to the top of the times. Romain Iniesta 2nd quickest, Vittorio Girelli 3rd quickest. Here comes Fred Gabion over the start-finish line, looking to try and work his way up from what is 13th in the order at the moment, Fred. But for Romain Iniesta, he's just heading round through the fast sections of the circuit and will shortly be coming up towards the end of the lap again, Romain Iniesta. Fred Gabion, meanwhile, is just heading through the tight right and left flicks at the chicane, right at the end of the start-finish line, as we heard from Martin Dubeck, just how easy it is to outbrake yourself down at that section of it. And we're now a 1/3 of the way through this qualifying session. So Alan Day topping the times. Romain Iniesta pushing hard on his next qualifying lap as we go on board with Mark Goossens on board the number 77 DF1 Racing Chevy. Using all of the curbs as he heads out of what I think was turn number 15 there and up towards turn number 16. Alan Day still fastest of all. Romain Iniesta 2nd quickest, but only 23 thousandths of a second quicker now than Vittorio Girelli, who's looking to try and hoist himself up onto the front row of the grid, the reigning EuroNASCAR 2 champion. Girelli so far this season has been solid in terms of point scoring. Hasn't finished outside of the top 6, but also hasn't had a podium. There goes Alan Day back over the start-finish line. What does that lap time look like as Loris Hazemans now goes 2nd quickest, 0.6 of a second, still adrift off Alan Day. But it's Chevy from Ford, from Chevy from Ford, from Ford from Ford, from Chevy at the moment. Top, what, 8 positions. So Alan Day, nice and neat and tidy. 1 minute 54.106 is his fastest lap time that he's done. The lap time that he just did was almost 1.8 seconds slower than that. It's a 1 minute 54.697 from Loris Hazemans. And then also Romain Iniesta and Vittorio Girelli are both in the 1 minute 54s at the moment. 5th quickest for Sebastian Bleekie-Molen. Gianmarco Ercoli is the leading junior driver. He's 6th quickest at the moment. He's on a 1 minute 55.297. And the leading challenger driver we've got is number 23, Henry Tuamala, who just moves up to 13th position, the Finnish driver. So Alan Day pushing on this lap, working his way through the twisty sections of the circuit, for which there are many of those at Autodrom Most. It really is quite a technically difficult circuit. And you can see just how damp it is still out there with rain continuing to fall. I don't think it is going to dry out, so I think they've got to get these banker laps in now and just see what the weather's going to do for the rest of the weekend. Giorgio Maggi now up to 2nd quickest. Great lap from Maggi. 1 minute 54.657 from Giorgio Maggi. He is now the leading junior driver that we've got for those that are age 25 and under. So Loris Hazemans dropped to 3rd, Romain Iniesta, Vittorio Girelli and Sebastian Bleekie-Molen rather. As Iniesta goes back onto the front row of the grid. We have a quick look at Loris Hazemans. He's just heading out of the final corner, looking to try and move up from 4th quickest. Back on board with Mark Goossens. Great shots from these live onboard cameras that we're receiving over the course of this weekend, and Mark is going to dive for the pit lane. Loris Hazemans does indeed move from 4th back up to 2nd as well. So 1 minute 54.333 from Loris Hazemans at the wheel of the number 7 Hendricks Ford, but is still nearly 0.7 of a second shy of Alan Day's provisional pole time at this stage. So the reigning champion, 3 times champion Alan Day, is for the moment the man to beat in this qualification session for the NASCAR Grand Prix of the Czech Republic, what is going to be round 5 of the 2021 NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Luca Lasser chasing Yevgen Sokolovsky around the circuit. Luca at the moment 8th quickest. Yevgen Sokolovsky at the wheel of the 48 is down in 17th quickest for Marco Steep Motorsport. This is Romain Iniesta. He has now dropped to 4th because Jacques Villeneuve is up to 3rd, so Villeneuve returning to the championship for this weekend. Himself and Patrick Lamery both returning to the championship, but Villeneuve is just 15 1/1000ths of a second shy of getting himself up onto the front row of the grid. Francesco Cini with a small mistake there, I think, as he came through the chicane. So Alan Day from Loris Hazemans, Jacques Villeneuve from Romain Iniesta, and Romain Iniesta is a little bit slow through the 1st and the 2nd sectors, so I don't think he's going to improve, but he does, yeah, he does improve. Final sector nailed it for Romain Iniesta. He gets himself back onto the front row of the grid now. So Romain with a time of 1 minute 54.254. Sebastian Pellicchi-Molin, was setting the pace in the early stages, is now 7th. Here is Jacques Villeneuve. Now, he has dropped back down into 4th position, but will shortly be heading over the start-finish line, potentially. So, heading up towards what is turn number 20. Turn number 21 is the final corner. But for Jacques Villeneuve, sector time suggesting that he is on it on this lap, I would say. Yeah, good sector time so far from Jacques. This could potentially be the pole position lap as he turns his way out of turn number 21 on towards the start-finish line. 4th quickest for the former Formula 1 world champion. And as he heads over the start-finish line, what is the time going to look like for Jacques Villeneuve, 1997 Formula 1 world champion? Goes back onto the front row of the grid. So good lap time, 1 minute 53.931 from Jacques. And all 3 sectors look pretty tidy as well. Maybe the middle sector a bit more to try and find, about 0.4 of a second slower than Alan Day in the middle sector of the lap, but that is a good lap from the former Indy 500 winner. And Jacques looking as though he's pressing on this lap as well. Good to see him back in the championship, the Academy and Alex Caffey Motorsport prepared car. There goes Dario Carzo back over the start-finish line. Carzo is lower down through the order currently. That is the number 44 car over the start-finish line, the Finnish driver Ian Erik Varden, who's racing in both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2 again this weekend. He was sharing the car at Brands Hatch, but is driving solo again and therefore competing in both categories this weekend. And there is number 8, Dario Carzo, another driver that returns to the championship. He is slowest of the 23 cars that we've seen out there currently, and actually hasn't put in a flying lap as yet, Dario Carzo, so maybe a few issues with his car. Over the start-finish line comes Vittorio Garelli, I think that is, about to flash his way over the start-finish line. 7th quickest from Garelli, and that lap was 2/10 slower than he's previously gone, so no improvement there from Garelli. Not far off, though, hoisting himself up onto the 3rd row of the grid. Patrick Lamery is circulating to the wheel of the 66. Now, where is he? He's 15th currently. There goes Giorgio Maggi back over the start-finish line. 6th quickest for Maggi. And as he goes through on that occasion, that was an out lap by the look of things. So Giorgio Maggi now building to a quick lap at the wheel of the number 18 Ford Mustang. He's the leading junior driver again at the moment. Did see Gianmarco Ercoli right up there, but I do wonder if his lap time might have been removed or whether others have now just gone a lot quicker and he's remained where he was. So Giorgio Maggi 6th quickest. And through the first sector, that is a good first sector from Giorgio Maggi. Number 23, Henry Tuomala, is the leading challenger driver. So for the silver and the bronze graded drivers to enter EuroNASCAR Pro. Henry Tuomala, he was runner-up in the Scandinavian V8 Thunder Series last year. He was the challenger champion back in 2019, finished 15th overall in the series, but was the challenger champion. But Giorgio Maggi is the one I would say to watch on this lap. Very good through the first sector. Through the second sector, time for Giorgio Maggi needs to be around about 39 seconds. You won't see the sector times on your screens, but he needs to be about 39 seconds through the second sector, and he's 39.1, which is a very good second sector. So Giorgio Maggi, surely this lap is not going to see him remain in 6th place. Sebastian Bleekemolen, in the meantime, has gone 3rd quickest. So up onto the second row of the grid goes Sebastian Bleekemolen with the number 69 car. Jacques Villeneuve is currently on the front row of the grid and is also lapping quickly this time through, but has lost a bit of time through the first sector. Where does Maggi's lap put him as he heads over the start-finish line? Now, I would have thought he would be higher up than 7th now, because others have gone quicker. Maggi, who was already 6th, looked as though he was on for a good lap, but perhaps didn't quite nail the final sector and now has lost out, drops to 7th quickest with 11.5 minutes to go. Alan Day from Jacques Villeneuve, Sebastian Bleekemolen from Romain Iniesta, Loris Hazemans, the championship leader, only 5th quickest at the moment, as Maggi now goes 3rd quickest and is only 17 one-thousandths of a second away from getting himself up on the front row of the grid, or was, as Villeneuve goes even quicker now in 2nd quickest and is now 61 thousandths of a second off the pole time of Alan Day. So it's all starting to hot up in the final 11 minutes now of this session. Day from Villeneuve, Maggi from Bleekemolen, Iniesta from Hazemans, and as soon as you say it, the order changes. Now here comes Loris Hazemans towards us now, looking to try and work his way up from what is 6th position now. Hazemans flashes his way through shot. Kalia Dorsakova goes through. Luca Lasser going through. Here's number 50, which is Vittorio Garelli, the EuroNASCAR 2 champion from last year. He's also the AutoGP champion, what, the best part of 8 years ago now, 2013. He was the AutoGP champion, Vittorio Garelli, which was for the old A1GP cars, wasn't it, from that series that used to exist. Now, he is 7th quickest at the moment, and he needs to find a 10th of a second improvement to work his way up onto the 3rd row of the grid. See whether he might be able to do it. So here comes Garelli now, over the start-finish line, and we're going to try and improve upon 7th position. Lucky though he was able to. Now Loris Hazemans looking to try and pop a quick lap in again now here. So Hazemans not great through the first and second sectors. That's not quite going to work for him, I don't think, because he's too slow in the first sector, Loris Hazemans. So I don't think we're going to see an improvement there. Jacques Villeneuve's about to complete a lap, and not a bad first sector, not a bad second sector, but I still don't think it's going to be a great deal quicker for Jacques Villeneuve as Giorgio Maggi goes now up onto the front row of the grid and is 4 one-thousandths of a second shy of Alan Day. Here comes over the start-finish line Loris Hazemans. And I don't think will he improve. Yes, he does. Loris Hazemans takes pole position away. 1 minute 53.524 for Loris Hazemans. And that was really all in the final sector, which is the longest sector, but he was quicker than most have gone through that final sector. It takes the best part of 46 seconds to get through the final sector, whereas Sector 1 is 27 seconds, Sector 2 is 38, 39 seconds, but the longest sector is where Loris Hazemans made up for the time that he'd lost out on through the first sector. And he is now joined by Jacques Villeneuve on the front row of the grid. 83 thousandths of a second separates them, and Alan Day, who'd been looking comfortable for pole position for a good amount of this session, is now 3rd, I'm afraid. Giorgio Maggi is 4th. Mark Goossens, where is he? We've not mentioned him at all. He is only 14th quickest in this session at the moment. But for Jacques Villeneuve, he is front row of the grid, but has backed things off on this lap, so sector time's not suggesting improvement for Jacques Villeneuve because he's about 3 seconds slower just in the first sector, so I think he'll be pit lane bound at the end of the lap. Garelli back over the start-finish line, looking to try and improve on 6th place. Bouncing over the curbs at the chicane goes Sebastian Bleekemolen, who is inside the top 6 again. The number 69 Team Bleekemolen run car. Former GT racer, very much from a racing family as Sebastian Bleekemolen. Regularly shares the car with his father, Michael Bleekemolen, but I think Michael has suffered a little bit of a back injury and therefore isn't racing this weekend. He's, I think, supporting the family, grandchildren who are kart racing this weekend, so it is just Sebastian on his own. Now, Loris Hazeman's the championship leader, about to conclude a further lap. Sector times not suggesting again this will be an improvement, but I thought that last time, and it was through the final sector where Loris Hazeman's set the world alight. This time he comes over the start-finish line, and is he going to improve? Yes, he does improve again, Loris Hazeman's. A 1 minute 53.262 is the final sector that's really working for Loris Hazeman's here. So he is now 0.3 of a second quicker than Jacques Villeneuve is in this session, with 7 minutes remaining. Alonde, I think, is now heading back out of the pit lane to try and maybe do another lap at the wheel of the number 88 Monster Energy back Chevy. He needs to try and work his way up from what is third quickest currently in this qualification session. There goes Nicola Rocca. Not really mentioned Nicola much. She's only 11th quickest, so I think a bit of an off-session. Nicola Rocca lies third in the championship standings at the wheel of the number 22 DF1 racing car, but the Italian, who's been a race winner around here when we visited in 2019, you can see he's way down in 11th position at the moment. Now, to the top of the times has just gone Sebastian Bleekemolen, 1 minute 53.231 from Bleekemolen, so he puts his car onto pole position. Fantastic stuff from him. So at the moment it is two Dutch drivers, Bleekemolen and Loris Hazemans, both from the Netherlands, that are fastest and second fastest. An Italian that's third, French driver that's fourth, French-Canadian that's their fifth place, Israeli sixth, Swiss seventh, French eighth, Italian ninth, and a French driver in 10th place. Such is the diversity we have in terms of nationalities, and that's without mentioning the likes of the Finnish drivers that we've got, the Slovakians, the Ukrainians, and Belgian drivers in the likes of Mark Goosen. So enormous amounts of nationalities represented in EuroNASCAR. Fred Gabion pressing on. Fred only 10th quickest currently. He was out, I think, competing in the Club Challenge yesterday just to try and get a bit more circuit time under his belt. And at the moment that hasn't quite worked for him. Fred is 7th in the championship standings, has had a couple of top 10 finishes so far this year, but hasn't been inside the top 6 in any of the races. On board with Mark Goosens again, you can see just how busy the drivers are, but also look at the dry line. Just look there at that slightly darker piece of tarmac. So it is a drier line, it is drying, and I think that's why we're still seeing improved times come in. Kayla Dorsakova at the wheel of the number 1 machine. Kayla, who has competed in a couple of EuroNASCAR races at Hockenheim in 2019. She's the champion in the Czech and Slovak auto slalom. Has also won the Slovakian indoor karting championship some years ago as well. That was back in, what, 2016, but that car was topping the times. It's not anymore. The track is definitely improving, because Jacques Villeneuve now back to provisional pole position, 1 minute 53.027, and Sebastian Bleekemolen, having only just popped in what was a pole time, it has already been bettered. Now Alan Day sliding his way round through what is turn number 16 and turn number 17, and then starting to accelerate down the flat out turn 18 and turn 19, looking to try and retake pole position. Loris Hazemans is on a quick lap as well at the wheel of the number 7 Hendricks Ford. Diving for the pit lane goes Mark Goosens. So he is, as things stand, way down through the order, much lower down than I would have thought for Mark Goosens. Alan Day goes back to the top of the times. The number 88 Chevy with a 1 minute 52.572. What can Loris Hazemans do? Because he's about to head over the start-finish line. He goes second quickest with a 1 minute 52.620. So the number 7 car of Loris Hazemans now is just 48 thousandths of a second shy of Alan Day. Jacques Villeneuve at the wheel of the number 5 is about a quarter of a second shy of Loris Hazemans' time. Jacques will be looking to try and work his way back up into contention. He's not going to do it on this lap, maybe letting things just cool off a bit and having perhaps one final push. He's got time to complete a slower lap and then do one more flying lap, and then that, as you can see, with less than 3 minutes remaining, would be the end of the session for the Champ Car champion from 1995. You can see the movement of the cars. Fred Gabion sliding the RDV competition machine round through the sweeps of turn number 15 and turn number 16 and then up towards turn number 17. You can see that drying line as well. Not sure whether any of the drivers have swapped for the Control Hoosier slick tyre that they all have available to them, or whether they're all still running on the Control wet tyre. Certainly, despite the windscreen wipers going, you can see an ever drying line, and that's why the times just keep improving and improving and improving. There goes 48, which is Yevgen Sokolovsky. He's further down through the order currently, down in what, 20th position, Yevgen. Aussie driver who races in both EuroNASCAR Pro and EuroNASCAR 2. But is anybody else going to have anything else that they could throw at this? Loris Hazemans is having another quick go. He might get a little bit of a toe off Francesco Cini on the charge towards the line. The Hendricks Ford looking to try and retake pole position, and does retake pole position. 1 minute 52.039. So this car now, Alan Day, is off pole position and will be heading on to his final qualifying lap. So this has to be the lap for Alan Day if he wants to try and retake pole position away from, well, you could argue his main championship rival, but Alan has not had the luck so far this season. He had a poor result at Valencia in race 2 and a poor result at Brands Hatch in race 2, and you only get one choke around that you can drop. So Alan Day is 9th in the championship standings at the moment and knows he can ill afford another poor race. He needs to be so consistent for the rest of the season if he wants to lift the championship title and trophy for the 4th time in his career. And if he were to do so, he would become the most winningest champion. He's already top of the all-time winners list with 25 wins under his belt, but both himself and the Villarino, the Spanish driver, who's not racing with us this season, have both got 3 championship titles under their belt. So for Alan Day, first sector needs to be a good one. And he's gone through the gravel. He's overdone it, I'm afraid. So that is going to be it for the reigning champion. I don't think he's caused any damage to the number 88 Chevy, but the Cal Racing machine all the way through the gravel trap, and that means that certainly he is not going to get back over the start-finish line, I don't think, with any time to spare. There's, what, 15 seconds to go on the clock. The start-finish line is a fair way down. I don't think he's quite going to make it. Be nip and tuck stuff as to whether he does, actually. Out to the final corner, and as he throws the car in towards the final corner, 3, 2, 1, he's not going to make it to the start-finish line. No, the checkered flag is going to come out, and those few seconds just cost him the opportunity to do another lap as he was working his way off the grass and back onto the circuit. So it certainly looks as though Loris Hazemans, for the moment, has got one hand on pole position, but there could still be other quick cars out there on flying laps as the circuit is continually improved. But it's Hazemans from Day, from Garelli, from Jacques Villeneuve. There was an improvement further down, I think, as Giorgio Maggi climbed up to 6th position there. But for Loris Hazemans, it does look as though, potentially for the 4th time this season in 5 races, he will be starting from pole position. Jacques Villeneuve now goes to pole position. Jacques Villeneuve takes up pole position, 1 minute 52.000. Loris Hazemans has lost out by 39 thousandths of a second, and Villeneuve all of a sudden comes to the top of the times. We have seen Villeneuve on pole position before. I think that was Venray back in 2019, if memory serves me correctly. We saw Jacques Villeneuve start from pole position, but it's Jacques Villeneuve that tops the times, and the rest of the cars all working their way around. Loris Hazemans, I think, still is on a flying lap at the moment. Through the first sector, though, he is a little bit slower than I would have expected him to be. But everybody else, I think, has now largely taken the checkered flag. And then once everybody has, we should be able to give you a full rundown of the way the grid, subject to any penalties, and the official confirmation of it, will line up for our EuroNASCAR Pro race that comes up later on. Over the course of the day, it's 13:35 CET, it's 7:35 Eastern time in the morning when we see the EuroNASCAR Pro race get going. But for Loris Hazemans, he's chasing Francesco Cini around the circuit. Sector time suggesting that he is pressing on this lap. He has just gone quicker than anybody through the middle sector of the lap, Loris Hazemans, but he was bottled up behind Francesco Cini. He lost out a little bit of time through the first sector, but I still think we could see him potentially retake pole position away from Jacques Villeneuve? We'll have to wait and see as he comes over the start-finish line, and he does, yeah, he does. He retakes pole position away. 1 minute 51.364 from Loris Hazemans means that he will go towards pole position, and number 5, Jacques Villeneuve, will just miss out. We caught some of the lap from Loris Hazemans, but we didn't catch all of it, I'm afraid, which is an enormous shame, because it did look as though it was going to be a great lap from Hazemans. But I think that is now pretty much everybody that has taken the checkered flag. But that number 7 car, the Hendricks Ford, for the 4th time out of 5 possibilities, is now back on pole position. So there's only one race where he's missed out on pole so far this season, whether it either be through qualifying or through fastest lap from race 1, allowing him to start from pole for race number 2. So a stunning qualification session from Loris Hazemans. Just a shame that we didn't quite get all of the lap from him. I think there's still probably a few technical issues that are being sorted out from some of the cameras in Most. There's Jacques Villeneuve. He will start from the front row of the grid. It will be the outside of the front row of the grid for what is a very tight first corner, isn't it? The right and the left flicks at the chicane. But that car there will start from the pole position, Loris Hazemans. And he has won here before. We saw him claim the 2nd of the 2 races when we were here in 2019, 30th of June 2019. He went towards victory lane here at Autodrom Most and led most of the laps in both of those races as well, but never started from pole position. It is his first pole in the Czech Republic for Loris Hazemans. So the car's trickling our way in towards the pit lane area, and then as they head in towards pit lane, we should hopefully be able to catch up with a driver interview with our pole sitting driver, Loris Hazemans, but we should hopefully before that be able to just look back at the qualification times and pick up on exactly the way that the grid in theory will line up. And once the last few cars have trickled their way into pit lane, there goes Alan Day. 4th in the end it was for Alan Day. Wasn't quite to be, and just missed out. That small mistake meant that he lost vital seconds on track. It was going to ruin that lap with the grass and the gravelly moment, but he chased the car to try and get it back over the start-finish line with time to go. But he was the first car to take the checkered flag. Didn't quite make it back round to squeeze a further lap out. The reigning champion, the Israeli driver, on board his Monster Energy backed Chevy. So hopefully we can confirm the times, and if we can get the graphic back up, we should hopefully be able to confirm the times and the way that the grid will line up for our first EuroNASCAR Pro race. So Loris Hazemans will start from pole position, and alongside will be Jacques Villeneuve. Row 2 of the grid, Sebastian Bleekemolen and Alan Day. It'll be Vittorio Garelli, who was 5th quickest, remaining Nieta in 6th. Ulysse Delso, Giorgio Maggi, Andrea Nori returning to the championship, finishes 9th in qualifying, and Luca Lasser will complete the top 10. So the leading junior driver was, in the end, Ulysse Delso. The former EuroNASCAR 2 champion was 7th quickest, the leading junior driver. After we've got to Luca Lasser there in 10th place, Fred Gabion was 11th, Gianmarco Ercoli was in 12th place, Dario Carzo was 13th, so he'll be the leading challenger driver that we have on the grid. Nicola Rocca was 14th, Francesco Sini was 15th, Patrick Lamoy was in 16th place, and then 17th backwards was Yevgen Sokolovsky, Henry Tuamala. Mark Goossens only 19th quickest for Mark Goossens, poor qualification session from him. Michaela Dorsikova was 20th. Bernardo Manfrey was 21st, Ian-Eric Varden only 22nd, that surprises me, Federico Monti 23rd, and Davide De Lara clearly with issues. We did not see Davide out in that. I think the car had a bit of a bump yesterday, and the number 89 car, I think, did an outlap, but then came straight back into the pit lane. So work to be done for Davide De Lara, who so far this season has been the man to beat in the Challenger Trophy. And is leading the Challenger Trophy standings, lying 12th overall in the championship, but is going to start off the very back of the grid for our EuroNASCAR Pro race later on. So hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to our pole sitting driver, Loris Hazemans, who will be jumping out of the number 7 Hendricks Ford, and will be handing it over to Martin Dubeck, who will take over that car for the EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying session that will be coming up very shortly indeed. And well, at least now there is a drier line, so we could see potentially the pole position for EuroNASCAR 2 being quicker than the pole position for EuroNASCAR Pro, but it really depends on what happens to the weather. You can see just how cloudy and grey and dull and awful it is here at Most, and with the cars being serviced quickly and turned around by the teams, refueled of course, we will see them being pushed back out into the pit lane very shortly for a further 30-minute qualification session, but this qualification session coming up will be for EuroNASCAR 2, which is restricted to just bronze and silver drivers. So it's young and amateur drivers that compete in EuroNASCAR 2. And there are 3 subcategories of that when we see them out there. We've got the Legend Trophy, which is for drivers aged 40 and over. We've got the Rookie Trophy, which is for drivers making their EuroNASCAR Series debuts, regardless of their age or their experience. So if you were over 40 and having your first season, for instance, you'd be eligible for both the Legend Trophy and the Rookie Trophy. And we also have the Lady Trophy as well for female drivers in the championship, which for this season, we've got Alina Leubneger and Ariana Casserly both competing. Of course, we do have Michaela Dorsakova out, but she's racing in EuroNASCAR Pro, and there isn't a separate lady trophy for the top flight. It's only in EuroNASCAR 2 we see that sub-categorization. A little bit of sun peeking through in what's been a grey weekend so far here at Most, in stark contrast to the conditions that we had in 29th and 30th of June of 2019, where I think the track air temperature was 33 degrees, if memory serves me correctly, and track temperature was pushing 40 degrees. Commentary box temperature was pushing 60 degrees, 80 degrees. It's slightly more comfortable in my commentary box this weekend than it was last time that we were here. But it's great to be back at Autodrom Most. Such a shame that we are restricted with the amount of spectators that we can have over the course of this weekend. But those are the restrictions that we're all having to work with and abide by, like them or not. That's what we need to do to make sure that hopefully, fingers crossed, 2022 we'll return to full normality. And even hopefully the back end of the 2021 season will see us return to full normality, because it's nice to see spectators here. We have missed them when we've had racing going on and they've literally not been allowed in. It's nice to see them here, but the banks aren't quite as full as otherwise we'd like to see them. So the cars are just about to be readied, and I think we can hand you downstairs with an interview with our pole sitting driver from EuroNASCAR Pro.
Session because the track was dry. Just tell us, how was it out there?
It was tricky. It was definitely tricky. Yeah, I'm super happy with this full position. Actually, extremely glad. Especially because during the whole session I had no radio communication, so we had a problem with the radio. So I had absolutely no clue if I was P5, P1, or maybe P last. Like, I had no clue. So it made it very exciting. I came over the line to start the last lap with I think 2 or 1 seconds, and this not knowing, well, from radio connection, so very, very exciting. Up until entering the pits I had no clue. But yeah, delighted. It was definitely tricky conditions because you really have to just get a feeling for it and sometimes just give it a try and hope that the grip is there, and sometimes it was, sometimes it wasn't. So this made it really exciting, but I'm delighted with this result.
In 2019 when we were here, it was 30 degrees, sunny, and pretty hot in the cars. So the conditions are completely different. How is it to drive those cars on a fast track like this with those conditions with the damn track?
You know, you said it's tricky. It really challenges the driver, obviously, because it's very easy to make a mistake. Yesterday in practice as well, the track was drying and I was pushing, and then I make a mistake in one of the infield corners. So it's really tricky, but definitely a lot of fun.
All right, thank you very much. Your pole sitter, Loris Esemans.
Big thumbs up and a big smile from Loris Hazemans. Chatting to Andre Weigold there, who is our roving reporter down there in the pit lane, and we'll be hearing and seeing a bit more of Andre over the course of the weekend, and I'm sure we'll be hearing and seeing more of Loris Hazemans as well. So green flag waves as the cars head out into the EuroNASCAR 2 qualification session, and as we see the cars head out there in EuroNASCAR 2, they're heading out onto what is their outlap in the reality. So we can look back at what's happened so far this season in EuroNASCAR 2, because as we saw from EuroNASCAR Pro, we've already had races at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia and at Brands Hatch. So let's have a quick look at what's happened so far this season. Well, again, the season opened up at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Spain, and as the cars headed off the start-finish line, it was going to be Martin Dubeck who was fighting away with the number 50 car of Tobias Dauenhauer as they went through Aspar, the first corner. Dauenhauer running wide on the exit, trying to take up the lead, but Martin Dubeck had the inside line when they got towards Dubeck, the next of the left-handers. So Martin Dubeck would lead the race and would continue towards victory lane, claiming a win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series and backing it up with a second win in the second of the two races. On to Brands Hatch in the UK for the next round of the championship, and the Indian driver Advait Deoda this time was out in front, under pressure from Tobias Dauenhauer, but it would be Advait Deoda that would come through to claim his first career win in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series and become the first Indian ever to go towards victory lane in NASCAR. The second race of the weekend again would see Tobias Dauenhauer looking to try and take up the lead of the race from Advait Deoda, who had to settle down into second position. As the race wore on, though, Advait Deoda lost pace at the wheel of the number 56 car. He would drop down through the order. There would be contact. Martin Dubeck, who was leading the championship, would get taken out of the race with a full 360-degree spin. He would recover, but would finish much, much lower down through the order. So it would be Tobias Dauenhauer that would come through to claim his first win of the season. And so far, he's yet to finish off the podium. He leads the championship standings on 144 points from Martin Dubeck, who is 9 points adrift in second place. And the Cypriot driver, Vladimiras Joitsis, completes the top three. That's what's happened so far in the 2021 championship season. So with the cars heading out there, let's just have another quick look at the championship points. I went through them briefly there at the end of that, but we should be able to bring up the full championship table for you. As I mentioned, Tobias Dauenhauer leads by 9 points from Martin Dubeck, with Vladimiras Joitsis third. Advait Deoda, as a result of that win, is now fourth in the championship standings, with Pierluigi Veronesi and Nave Talor completing the top six. The leading rookie that we've got for the drivers in their first season of NASCAR is the young Italian driver Alberto Panebianco. He is eighth in the championship standings, and we've just seen him out in EuroNASCAR Pro, but he also races in EuroNASCAR 2. Yevgen Sokolovsky, the Ukrainian, has just a 2-point lead ahead of Max Lanza as they fight over the lead in the Legend Trophy in 11th and 12th in the championship overall. Remember, the Legend Trophy is for drivers aged 40 and over. Leading the Lady Trophy, it's quite close as well. Look to 16th and 17th in the championship overall. Ariana Casserly is just ahead of Alina Leubnegger in the Lady Trophy, so it couldn't be any closer at all in EuroNASCAR 2. So, with the green flag now having been waved, the cars are just starting really onto their first flying lap in this session. Pierluigi Veronesi we're looking at there in the distinctively liveried number 27 car, Double V Racing. He is a part team owner of Double V and has had a solid start to the season, Pierluigi Veronesi, back in the championship. Haven't seen him on the podium as yet so far this year, but he's been in the top six in every single race so far. He's had 2 top 5 finishes as well, a 5th and a 4th, so good to see Pierluigi Veronesi back, scoring consistently, the Italian. Who else do we need to mention in this one? Paolo Valeri is back this weekend. There is Martin Dubeck. He is second in the championship standings, 9 points adrift following that spin at Brands Hatch, where there was a little bit of contact between himself and the Shadow. So we will be looking, particularly with his home crowd here supporting him, and plenty of family members, as we've heard from, supporting him. He'll be looking to try and get his championship absolutely back on track once more. And now you do get, as I mentioned, one joke around, so in other words, you can drop your lowest score of the regular season. So after here in the Czech Republic, we will head to Autodrom Grobnik in Croatia for the NASCAR Grand Prix of Croatia on the 18th and 19th. And then the final races of the regular season will be rounds 9 and 10 that will take place at the NASCAR Grand Prix of Belgium at Circuit Zolder in early October. The finals for this season will be the NASCAR Grand Prix of Italy, the American Festival of Rome, which will be at Autodromo di Vallelunga, and that is towards the end of October, where we will crown our various champions, both in EuroNASCAR Pro and in EuroNASCAR 2. So the cars now onto flying laps. Tobias Dauenhauer, Martin Dubeck, Vladimiras Joitsis, Advait Deoda, the top 4 in the series. Advait Deoda are looking at the moment, the London-based Indian, as he is nowadays, fresh from that win at Brands Hatch, his first career win in EuroNASCAR, so making that little bit of history, becoming the first Indian driver ever to go to victory lane in a NASCAR race. And you can just see at the moment the cars taking a slightly wider sweep through. I think this is exploratory laps for a few of the cars here. Looking at that dry line, I would suggest that maybe the Hoosier slick tyre would be the way to go. The difficulty is that if you don't stay on that dry line, it's going to be very, very difficult. So if you meet a slower car and need to overtake, and in particular if you run wide onto the curbs like that at Tobias Dauenhauer on a slick tyre, the car's going to remind you very quickly that it might not like it. So Dauenhauer flashes his way over the start-finish line and pops in a 1 minute 49.802, 149.802 from Tobias Dauenhauer. So the championship leader is at the moment setting the pace in qualifying, the 23-year-old German. Tobias was runner-up in the EuroNASCAR 2 Championship last year. He did claim the rookie title, though. He was also the champion in the eSports series that we had this season. Big lock-up from him there, though, as he heads down in towards the bottom sections of the circuit. Number 90 is Nave Talor, the 19-year-old Israeli, being chased around the circuit by the 46 car, which is the Portuguese driver, Miguel Gomes, who's raced Euro late models in the past. Saw him at Brands Hatch, where he had a good old run, did Miguel Gomes at Brands Hatch. Didn't quite get himself inside the top 6, but was knocking on the door in all of the races, really. And it was the same at Valencia. He's been a regular sort of driver that has been knocking on the door of top 10s rather than top 6s, but hasn't had one as yet. So we'll see as to what he might be able to do. Nave Talor pushing on at the wheel of the number 90, 2 times Israeli karting champion from some years ago. There's Yevgen Sokolovsky back out for another go. So we've just seen him driving that very same car in EuroNASCAR Pro. A quick gulp of water, a quick refuel of the car, and back on board jumps the Ukrainian. Former team owner, motorcycle team owner he was, raced in the Yamaha Cup as well. We've seen him racing late model V8s around Venray. And one of the many drivers that's come through the recruitment program was Yevgen Sokolovsky, as was Nave Talor, actually, driving the number 90. Bringing new drivers into NASCAR, where you can apply to become part of the recruitment program, go on one of the recruitment days to sample what the car is like, and so many drivers sample it and then, yeah, just smile, because it is pure racing. No electronic gizmos on these cars. The traction control is what you do with your foot on the accelerator pedal. The ABS is what you do with your foot on the brake pedal. And whilst there is the option nowadays of a sequential box, it's a manual sequential. It's not an automatic sequential. And most drivers still opt for the manual. So Tobias Dauenhauer fastest of all. At the moment, he is 1.25 seconds. Everybody else is gone. But everybody else has still got plenty of time to try off the circuit art. His Cypriot driver, Vladimiris Choy, 24 years, finished 5th in the standings last year, did Vladimiris. Sorry, 4th in the standings last year. He was 5th in the eSports series. The number 88 car, taken over by Max Lancer. Now, in yesterday's session, Max Lancer was quickest of all on the combined times for EuroNASCAR 2. And nice to see back the Luxembourg driver, Gilles Linster. He's taken over the car that was driven in the EuroNASCAR Pro session by Mark Goossens. We last saw Gilles in the EuroNASCAR 2. He's been away racing late models, both at Venray and in the States more recently, but nice to see him back in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, Gilles Linster. So Joyce is about to head over the start-finish line, being chased around the track by Paolo Valeri, another driver that came through the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series recruitment program. And as those two head over the start-finish line, Valeri picks up the tow and went 3rd quickest. Tom Krasinas now goes to the top of the times, the Greek driver. 1 minute 49.556 for Tom Krasinas, driving the number 2 car for Academy / Alex Caffey Motorsport. So Tobias Dauenhauer, the number 50, all of a sudden now finds himself on the outside of the front row of the grid, but is about to come over the start-finish line. I think retake pole position here, the number 50. He'll flash his way over the start-finish. And is he going to pick up the position? I would have thought so. Sector times looking as though that was going to be the case for him. Now, number 23 is Levi Lintakantu. Finnish driver, finished 3rd in the Legends series in Scandinavia last year. Used to do some Finnish karting as well, did Levi Lintakantu. He's the 23 machine that we just saw there briefly. But for Tom Krasinas, he is no longer on provisional pole position. Nave Talor now has gone to the top of the times with the number 90 Not Only Motorsport machine. 1 minute 49.511 from him. Oh, big mistake from Max Lancer. Lost almost the tail end of the Monster Energy Chevy there. The Cal Racing car almost got away from him, but a bit of arm twirling, got it back under his spell. He will continue, but that has sort of undone anything that he wants to be doing on this lap, Max Lancer. So 8th quickest at the moment. He's going to remain 8th quickest at the end of this lap without question, because that moment is going to cost him enough time, so he'll struggle to improve. There goes number 12. That is Elina Leubniger. So, driver that raced in the Club Challenge in 2019 on board the number 12 Solaris Motorsport car. See the racing in endurance races as well in a BMW 2 Series. Elina. But Nave Talor, there we go, just saw him flash through shot there. Top of the times at the moment. So the number 90 car of the Israeli driver. Fastest of all at the moment, only by 45 thousandths of a second from Tom Krasinas. Tobias Stauenhauer is 3rd quickest, the number 50. Gilles Linster on his return, 4th quickest for number 77. That is a cracking early lap from Gilles Linster. Paolo Valeri is 5th quickest. He's the leading rookie and the leading legend driver, because he's eligible for both of those categories. And Martin Dubeck at his home NASCAR Grand Prix is 6th at the moment. So that's the order of the top 6. Ariana Cassoli is the leading lady at the moment, just slightly quicker than Elina Leubniger. But for Nave Talor, it is just getting better and better and better. 1 minute 47.237 from Nave last time through. That means at this stage, yes, there's still just over half of the session to go, but he's 2.3 seconds quicker than anybody else has managed in this qualification session so far. So Nave Talor really getting on with it. Does make me wonder, maybe, tyre choice. Some cars perhaps still circulating on the wet, others switching to the slick tyre, and all of a sudden it's now got to that point where the track conditions favour the latter. So Nave Talor pressing on, still looking very quick indeed through the first sector. Tobias Stauenhauer is in the pit lane at the moment, so not able to respond. Tom Krasinas is also in the pit lane, so the cars that are 2nd and 3rd quickest in this session not able to respond. Gilles Linster is looking reasonably racy in 4th position. A little bit of bodywork just flapping on the front right corner of the number 77 DF1 Racing Chevy. But for Gilles, car looks neat and tidy. But is he going to work his way up through the order here? Currently 5th quickest. And as the man from Luxembourg heads over the start-finish line, he goes 2nd quickest that time through. So Gilles Linster, 1 minute 47.999 for Gilles Linster on his return to the series. Sees him on the front row of the grid provisionally, but with 15 minutes to go, I suspect there are going to be plenty of twists in this tail as conditions continually improve here at Autodrom Most. You could see what was a very wet track for the start of the EuroNASCAR Pro Qualifying is now pretty much dry, not necessarily all the way across. There's still the odd damp patch here and there, but there you go. Look, you can see the damp patches there where you've got to stay on the racing line. You can't really afford to come off it, but other parts of the circuit looking substantively drier now. Around through turn number 10, that is. Great shot from our camera there that sweeps all the way round through. Nave Talor still topping the times. Levi Lintecantu now all of a sudden. The rookie goes 2nd quickest with the number 23 car. 1 minute 47.360 from Levi Lintecantu. There is number 8, which is Paolo Valeri. His 6th quickest currently with the Vict Motorsport machine. The champion in the Italian Cup 2nd Division from 2020. So Talor from Lintecantu. Adwek Diodar's now up to 3rd. Max Lancer's up to 4th. Gilles Linster's down to 5th all of a sudden. Paolo Valeri is 6th. Tom Krasinas was 2nd, wasn't he, not long ago? Well, he's now 7th. Simon Palat is 8th. Tobias Stauenhauer, the championship leader, is only 9th at the moment. And he and Eric Varden, Scandinavian, the Finnish driver, completes the top 10. So that's the order of the top 10. There is number 23, which is Levi Lintecantu. Very good through the first sector was Levi Lintecantu. We go back on board with Gilles Linster, who is destined for the pit lane this time through. But I would say number 23, Levi Lintecantu, could be the one to watch on this lap, because he could potentially be going towards pole position. Very quick through sector 1, very quick through sector 2 is Levi Lintecantu. And the number 23 car is bottled up a little bit behind the car of Miguel Gomez. Hopefully the Portuguese driver won't compromise the run here for Levi Lintecantu as they flash their way through turns number 18 and 19 in towards the braking area for turn number 20, the penultimate corner. Now, if Levi Lintecantu has lost a bit of time here, it could be critical because others are now going quicker because Francesco Caristo has just gone third quickest. Is this going to be the pole time for Levi Lintecantu? It's certainly very good through the first and the second sector. He'll pick up a bit of a tow from Miguel Gomez as they head over the start-finish line. And is it going to be good enough for the Scandinavian to take the place? Let's have a quick look. No, he lost time, I'm afraid, as he sat behind it. Yeah, lost the best part of a couple of seconds once he got bottled up behind Miguel Gomez. All of the hard work he'd done at the beginning of the lap all came undone, so he does not improve at the end of that. He was actually a tenth of a second slower. So no improvement there. Simon Palat goes to the top of the times with the number 66 car. So Simon Palat heading to the top of the times with the number 66 car that he shares with Patrick Lamery, who races that car in EuroNASCAR Pro. So Simon Palat with a 1 minute 45.146, now 8 tenths of a second quicker than the number 90 car of Nave Talor. Paolo Valeri is the car that was on our screen there. He's way down through the order, Paolo Valeri. Having been right up there, he's now down to 10th position. Max Lancer, we saw there briefly, is third quickest at the wheel of the Monster Energy backed car. And what might he be able to do? He is chasing around the circuit Martin Dubeck at the moment, who we haven't really mentioned much. Dubeck is 9th quickest. He's inside the top 10 at his home NASCAR Grand Prix. But for the driver that lies second in the championship, he is 9th, and the championship leader is 12th at the moment. So into the pit lane comes Max Lancer. He is the leading Legend Trophy driver we've got. Simon Palat, this car here, tops the times at the moment. 1 minute 45.146 from Simon. So Chevy from Ford. The shadow of Francesco Caristo is third quickest. And it's make that fourth quickest as improvement there for Martin Dubeck. We're watching at the moment Vladimir Choitsis, who lies third in the championship standings. And Choitsis is a long way down through the order. Is he going to improve that time through? We'll have to have a look, because Vladimir Choitsis is only 16th at the moment, and he is third in the championship standings. Advait Diodo just pops a quick one in. He goes second quickest at the wheel of the number 56 car. We're not really able to pick up on the laps, really, in qualifying, which is slightly frustrating. Now, this lap here, let's stick with Simon Palat, hopefully, this time through. He's got a little bit of traffic just ahead of him, but that is quick traffic that's ahead of him, and it's going to move out of the way. So Simon Palat not losing any time there as he flashes his way around through turn number 4 and up towards the braking area for turn number 5 and 6 and 7, and then round through what is already going to be up towards turn number 9 and 10. But no, Simon Palat has disappeared out of shot again, so we're not going to be able to pick up on that lap, which I was hoping we would, because the first sector of it was a very quick one. Ian Eric Varden, number 44, looking to try and see what he can do, and Ian Eric is 10th quickest currently at the wheel of number 44 car. Now here's Simon Palat further round the lap, but we go back to looking at Levi Lintecantu, who is 9th quickest currently, and Levy's times are not really setting the world alight, so I don't think we're going to see a great deal of improvement there for the Finnish driver, not on this lap at least. Tom Krasinas is back out there at the wheel of the number 2 car. Now remember, he was front row of the grid briefly. He's now 7th quickest, the former junior saloon car racer from the UK. Greek by nationality, but we've seen him racing in the Junior Saloon Car Championship in the UK in, 2016, 2017, until he was too old to be eligible for it. Did a bit of X30 karting prior to that, I think Tom did. So through there is Simon Palat over the start-finish line, and it was a new pole time. I thought it looked good. Shame we didn't stick with the lap, but 1 minute 43.646 for Simon Palat. So good lap time from him. Here comes Martin Dubeck. He's now up onto the second row of the grid at his home NASCAR Grand Prix. I was a little bit worried for his position, but he seems to be righting it. However, Tobias Downhower, the championship leader, is only 9th still at the moment. And Vladimir Choitsis, who is 3rd in the championship, is only 15th in qualifying. Back on board with Gilles Lidster. Back to the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series and going really well Others have now improved. Number 77 car has dropped down to 12th position on the drying track. But Gilles flashing his way through turn 15 and 16 by the look of things. And as he heads out of the right-hander at turn 17, and the speeds will begin to build again. Now, Ian-Eric Varden there we saw. There's Yevgen Sokolovsky, who is running 12th currently at the wheel of the number 48 car. 8 minutes of the session remaining. And Yevgen's sector times, possibly an improvement potentially coming up for him. Advait Dioda, who's gone second quickest, now heads for the pit lane at the wheel of the 56 Cal Racing machine. The Elite Club champion from 2018 into the pit lane. Simon Palat is the man to beat at the moment, the 19-year-old Belgian driver who finished 8th in EuroNASCAR 2 last year. He was 4th in the rookie standings, continues to top the times. Vladimir Choitzis has got qualifying back where he wanted it to be, because he's just gone 4th quickest, the number 1 car, in the hands of the Cypriot. Yevgen Sokolovsky heading past shot, chased by Miguel Gomez. There is Vladimir Choitzis, the white car with the green flashes to it, just heading through the shot now. So he is now up to 4th quickest. There goes Max Lancer. And I think that was Advait Dioda, or possibly Ariana Cassely, difficult to tell from that camera angle. And there goes the championship leader, Tobias Dauenhauer, who is now up into 6th. So finally Dauenhauer is starting to get where he wants to be. But I suspect some of this may well just be just waiting. They know the track is drying. They know that it's only going to dry further. So when you're so limited on tyres, just 2 brand new tyres for the weekend, the others have to be carried over from either the races at Brands Hatch or the races at Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia, then why wear your tyres out? Tyres are always going to be critical. All you need to do on a drying track is pop the quick lap in at the end. And I'm wondering if that's what quite a few of these cars are doing. There goes number 89, Alberto Panebianco. Not mentioned the 24-year-old Italian much as yet. Raced single-seaters and karts in the past before coming through and racing 4 races with us, the 4 Valencia races at Ricardo Tormo at the back end of the 2020 season. Now we've just seen a good improvement for Nave Talor, who's popped up into 4th position there, the number 90 car. So Nave popping a good time in. And Martin Dubeck going to the top of the time. So at his home NASCAR Grand Prix, Martin Dubeck to the top of the time, but that's instantly bettered by Vladimir Choitzis a few seconds later. So we are absolutely starting to build to a crescendo now, with 5.5 minutes of the qualification session remaining. Vladimir Choitzis now to the top of the times at the wheel of the number 1 car. There he goes round through the chicane. So Choitzis with a bit of traffic to deal with on this lap, so that might hamper his progress. I think it's Livy Lintecanto and Miguel Gomez that are ahead of him on track. So that is likely to hold up the Cypriot driver this time. There goes Jules Linster again. He is still in 12th place at the wheel of the number 77 car. Was quick to start with, but hasn't improved to the same degree as others. Advait Dioda looking to try and squeeze up the inside of Alina Leubnegger as they head up towards turn number 20. So through goes Dioda. But is that just enough to compromise the lap for the man who's currently in 6th quickest? Now Simon Palat is in the pit lane at the moment in 4th place. Paolo Valeri, who is down in 15th position, is in the pit lane, but everybody else inside the top 20 almost is all out on track and circulating at the moment. Now in terms of sector times, well, we're now going to be about 26 seconds, low 26 seconds in the first sector would be a good first sector time. So you can't see sector times on your screens, but with the data that's available to me, I can see them. It's about 35 seconds through the first sector and about 40 now through the third sector. That gives you an indication as to what a quick time would be midway round the lap. And for Vladimir Choitzis this time through, he has lost a little bit of time through the first sector compared to others. Not much, about 0.3, but he lost a lot of time through the middle sector as he was working his way past the traffic. So don't think this will be an improvement. No, it's 11 seconds slower ultimately. So no improvement for Choitzis there, but he's now got clear track, and that could be important for him. He's on pole position by just 1/10 of a second from Martin Dubeck. as we go on board with Gilles Linster, who is chasing around the circuit the car of Pierluigi Veronesi as they head up towards turn number 15. So through 15, the circuit sweeps left at 16, it goes back to the right at 17, and then get a good launch off this corner, because you then carry all of that speed through the sweeping turn number 18 that they're going past now, and turn 19 as well, both of which are taken flat out. So Vladimir's Choice is still fastest of all. There goes Martin Dubeck. Now, sector times from Martin Dubeck look good through sector 1. Lost a little bit of time through sector 2. Gilles Linster still chasing over the start-finish line the Double V racing car of Pierluigi Veronesi. Do either of those improve? Not to any enormous degree. I don't think Martin Dubeck will improve as well, because his middle sector he lost a little bit of time through. So Gilles Linster eventually gets past Pierluigi Veronesi. So now the DF1 Racing Chevy can look to try and gap the car. Linster, what, 12th quickest, Veronesi is 14th quickest at the moment. Cars number 77 and 27 respectively. Now we're into the final 2.5 minutes of this qualification session. Martin Dubeck still pressing on the lap, looking to try and see what he might be able to do, but really depends on whether he can get past that traffic before they got towards turns 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10, which is quite a complex of tight corners altogether. So Joyce's fastest by 1/10 of a second. Here comes Martin Dubeck, gets past Alina Leubnegger, and through the first sector Martin Dubeck was pretty quick there, considering there was a little bit of traffic that he had to deal with. Depends on what his second sector looks like for Martin Dubeck, but it's about 0.7 of a second shy, I'm afraid, in the second sector. So the traffic did cost him there just as he tried to work his way past Alina Leubnegger, the Austrian driver. But now the Czech can press on, perhaps, on what will be at the end of this lap. He'll be starting his final qualification lap, because there's now less than a lap time to go in this qualification session. So he's heading up towards the penultimate corner, turn number 20. And it looks as though he's got a clear lap here, so this could be the pivotal lap for Martin Dubeck. If he wants to take pole at his home NASCAR Grand Prix, he's about to start the final qualifying lap that he'll see in this session. Alina Leubnegger over the start-finish line. 17th quickest, and that is faster than Ariana Casserly, so the fastest drive we've got in the Lady Trophy in qualifying is Alina. Albeit she's giving second best to Ariana Casserly in terms of the championship standings in the Lady Trophy at this stage. But with less than 60 seconds to go, I would say the one to watch out for on this lap would be Martin Dubeck and the number 7 car. Because I think Alina Leubnegger is more than ahead of Ariana Casserly, so as not to worry. And Martin Dubeck through the first sector is quick. So there goes Miguel Gomez. Max Lance, Levi Lintercanto over the start-finish line, but the number 7 car is the one that I want to try and hope that we might be able to pick up on, because through the first sector, Martin Dubeck was within a whisker of the fastest time. Vladimir's Choices is also now just starting his final lap, so he is on pole position provisionally at the moment, but the circuit has continually improved throughout the course of this session, so Vladimiris will be pushing on this final qualification lap to make sure that he stays nice and neat and tidy. Now through the second sector, Martin Dubeck is quick there as well, so the number 7 car could be heading towards pole position, but he will take the checkered flag before the number 1 car does, so Vladimir's Choices could still wrestle it back even if Martin Dubeck does go quicker on this lap. So up towards the tail of the lap. Here comes Martin Dubeck. They say he was very quick through the first sector. He was not slow through the second sector. We're not going to see the end of the lap from him, because we're going to go back to Vladimir's Choices to see what he's doing midway round through the lap. Advent Diodar moves up to 3rd quickest, the number 56 Cal Racing machine. But what are we going to see from Martin Dubeck? Is he going to take pole position away from Vladimir's Choices? I don't think we're going to get to the end of the lap. Martin Dubeck does go quicker, but is 93 thousandths of a second slower than Vladimir's Choices. So a 1 minute 43.123 from Martin Dubeck is not going to be good enough to take pole position away. He heads up towards the chicane, having taken the checkered flag. And for Vladimir's Choices, as he comes over the start-finish line, excuse me, he goes quicker, but Simon Palat goes quickest. Simon Palat to the top of the times, 1 minute 42.702 from the DF1 Racing number 66 Chevy in the hands of the 19-year-old Belgian. He, on the very final lap, goes to the top of the times, and both himself and the DF1 Racing team will be absolutely delighted with that one, albeit Tobias Dauenhauer goes even quicker with 1 minute 42.586 for the championship leader. Such a shame we're not seeing any of these laps, but Tobias Dauenhauer is top of the times for Hendricks Motorsport and the Ford, so he will be hugely pleased with that. I think most of the cars now have taken the checker flag. There is the number 50 car that is going to be heading towards the pit lane shortly, and we will hopefully catch up with Tobias Dauenhauer. But Tobias has had such a great start to the season. He has won one race, he's finished second in two, third in the other, so he has been a consistent podium scorer so far this season. He is going to head towards what will be the pit lane area and grab a quick chat with Andre Weigold. As number 56, Adrian Dioda, Brands Hatch winner, will start 5th quickest. Number 12, Alina Leubniger, was the fastest in the Lady Cup in the end. The fastest of all is that car there. The number 50 Ford will start from pole position come the EuroNASCAR 2 race that is scheduled to take place at 4 o'clock Central European time. That will be 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time later on today. So the cars trickling their way into pit lane. Let's just confirm the order then, as you can see on the left of your screens. The fastest of all in EuroNASCAR 2 qualifying, Tobias Dauenhauer. Second quickest, Simon Palat. Third was Vladimiris Choitsis, and it was Martin Dubeck, Advait Yoda and Nave Talor that were 4th, 5th and 6th. Francesco Garisto finished 7th in the end. Levi Lintercantu was in 8th place with Justin Kuntz. We didn't really mention Justin much. 9th in the end. He's just coming into the pit lane now at the wheel of the number 22 car. And completing the top 10 was number 88, which was Max Lancer. 11th in the end for Tom Krasinas, was right up there in the early stages, wasn't he? Levi Lintercanto, by the way, is the leading rookie we've got in the field. Max Lancer in 10th will be the leading legend we've got in the field. So Krasinas was in 11th place. Yevgen Sokolovsky was in 12th place on his return to the championship. Gilles Linster was 13th. Ian-Eric Varden 14th. And Pierluigi Veronesi was in 15th place. 16th was Miguel Gomez. Paolo Valeri was there in 17th. 18th quickest was Alina Leubniger. 19th was Alberto Panebianco, who I would say is a little bit off where he really ought to be. Finished 4th last time out at Brands Hatch, but only 19th on the grid for Alberto in this qualification session. 20th was Ariana Casserly, and 21st was Eric Quintal, back in the championship. So the EuroNASCAR 2 division making their way into pit lane. Those are the qualification times, of course, not necessarily the grid, because if there's any issues with any either technical issues with the cars post-qualifying or any penalties that need to be given out for transgression of circuit limits or any rules, and those will be issued later on. But that's the qualification times. The grid we will confirm as and when we go live for our 2 respective races later on today. Remember, EuroNASCAR Pro race stream goes live at 13:35 Central European time. That's 7:35 Eastern time if you're watching in the States. Thanks for joining us, by the way. And the EuroNASCAR 2 race gets underway at 4 o'clock Central European time. That is 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern time in the States. So the cars are working their way back into pit lane. It's been such an intriguing qualification session, with it being rather wet to say the least at the start of EuroNASCAR Pro, and then slowly drying off, so the quick times came towards the end of their session. But then for EuroNASCAR 2, the circuit had already started with a semi-dry line, and as the cars started to circulate, without question, the decision was made by some of the cars that had started on the Control Hoosier wet tyre to swap to the slick. And again, as the circuit further dried and the slick tyres did what they needed to do, we have seen, again, all of the quick times come at the end of the qualification session. So there is Vladimiris Choitsis out of the number 1 Academy and Alex Caffey Motorsport machine. The Cypriot driver, off comes the crash helmet, off will come the balaclava, and another solid qualifying performance for Vladimiris, who joined me in the commentary box at Brands Hatch for the previous round. But for Vladimiris, who lies, 3rd in the championship standings, he is 3rd on the grid, so he'll be pleased with that. Simon Palat, who lies 7th in the championship standings, is 2nd on the grid, and Tobias Dauenhauer, who is the championship leader, is going to be on pole position for later on. I can see Andre Weigold down there in the pit lane area, and Tobias Dauenhauer is out of the car, and then we'll just have to wait a few moments until we can hopefully grab a quick word with our pole sitting driver for what has been a great start to the weekend for the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Rounds 5 and round 6 of the championship here. back in Czechia, the Czech Republic, at Autodrom Most for the OMV Max Motion NASCAR show, to give it its full title. And for Tobias Dauenhauer, of course, first time he will have raced in EuroNASCAR around this circuit. The previous visit, the EuroNASCAR 2 pole positions, both went the way of the Swiss driver Giorgio Maggi in EuroNASCAR 2. Well, Giorgio now has moved on to EuroNASCAR Pro, so it is a first-time pole sitter for Tobias Dauenhauer. And it does mean that, again, Roy Hendricks and the team, meaning that in both EuroNASCAR Pro with Loris Hazemans, it's a Hendricks car that starts from pole, and in EuroNASCAR 2, might be a different car, but it's still a Hendricks Ford that starts from pole again in the hands of Tobias Dauenhauer. So Hendricks have been the team to beat, really. We've got some very, very competitive teams in EuroNASCAR with the likes of Academy Motorsport and Alex Caffey, the likes of Hendricks, Marco Steep, Cal Racing, Team Bleekemola we saw there as well, didn't we? DF1 Racing, Not Only Motorsport, 42 Racing, RDV Competition, Vict. They're all very, very competitive teams. I don't think I've missed any out. But yeah, it's amazing how, entirely different cars, but two Hendricks Fords, pole position in one race, pole position in the other. The crowds have enjoyed it as well. It's a great supporting package as well that's here. I mentioned the likes of European Truck Racing Championship are here, and Max Motion, which is a very powerful single-seater category, is also on the bill for this weekend. And the locals and certainly the NASCAR fans out in their thousands this weekend. Not thousands and thousands because of the restricted numbers that we are able to have under the current COVID-19 arrangements, but nice to see the fans here. And hopefully we can return to having a full house of fans and get all of that fan engagement between the drivers and the teams again, moving forwards. So there we see the number 7 car of Martin Dubeck, who was 4th quickest in the end. So 2nd in the championship standings, 4th at his home NASCAR Grand Prix. He'll be reasonably pleased with that, and we'll hope that he might be able to make progress in the race from there. So I'm just going to hang on. I'm hoping we'll be able to grab a quick word with our Tobias Dauenhauer, but I'm not sure we're going to get one. I'm not sure we're going to get the interview, I think, was the message I just heard in my ear there. So again, hopefully we'll get a chance to chat to him later on. So that's it then for the moment. We're not going to get a chance to chat to our pole sitter, Tobias Dauenhauer. And that is it for the moment from Autodrom Most and the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Don't forget, we've got racing coming up later on today. We've got the EuroNASCAR Pro Race, 13:35 Central European Time. But from everybody here at Autodrom Most, thanks for joining us for qualifying for round 5 of the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series. Until later on today, it's goodbye.